Can you hear me, by the way? Is my mic working? I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, it was choppy when I was streaming before, but I lowered the bit rate to make it smoother because I'm streaming in 720p at 60 FPS. I wonder if I cut the FPS in half, I might be able to do it at a higher bit rate. I don't know how that would look though. Or at a higher resolution with the same bit rate, or the higher resolution with the same frame rate. I'm not sure. Is it still lagging for you? Because I'm watching it on my other monitor and it doesn't look like it's lagging at all. I don't stream enough to like want dedicated stuff. Well, when you say alright, do you mean like it's bad? Oh shit, that's really good. Or it's just fine, like it's not lagging at all. I will trade all of my items for this. So the way that these things work is they're like 3D printers, and you can put in any item. Well, it chooses an item at random of the same rarity. So for instance, the glasses are a white item. So it will choose a, when you use this, it will choose a random white item and convert it into a pair of glasses. Since I just started, glasses are pretty much better than everything I have. I mean, the medkits are nice, but I'll be able to pretty much just kill everything with the glasses. What do you think about how it looks? I don't know, I've had a lot more fun with this than I thought I would, and it like just evaporates time when I start playing it. Because you get sucked into a run, and it's just like an hour or two passes, and you're like, holy shit. I am kind of wasting a lot of time right now. Because if you notice in the upper right, the difficulty will keep increasing. So like right now I'm in the middle of easy, and then as it gets closer to medium, it'll get harder and harder. But the item drops get better the farther you get in the number of stages you've been through. So this is still the first stage, but if I can get to like stage 4 or 5 quickly, while the difficulty's not too high, I can get it kind of ahead of the difficulty curve. Items in chests like this, the price of them also scales with the difficulty, so it's also kind of important to not get too far behind in that either. Sticky bombs are good. They proc randomly and basically attach a sticky bomb to an enemy when it procs. It's a good damage boost. But I don't know, the glasses are a lot better. Like, I might just convert all of my white items into glasses. Because I'm probably never going to find a 3D printer that good the rest of this run. I mean, it can be repetitive if you look at it like that, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like, yeah, I guess it is repetitive, but it's just with how many different items there are, and you don't necessarily get the same levels in the same order every time. And if the gameplay was like stale, I could see it getting repetitive, but just with how like fluid everything plays, I don't know, I just don't see myself getting bored of it. The only downside to playing the guy that I'm playing right now is they need to fix. There's enemies that spawn called like blazing, and basically they're on fire and they set you on fire if you touch them. And right now the fire ticks do like just a bit too much damage. So if something sets you on fire, it's like almost a death sentence unless you have decent health regen. And when you get farther in the game, with this guy, you just touch someone, you're basically dead. So it's kind of annoying, and I hope they fix that. I think I got all the chests. Alright, this is a pretty easy boss. The other thing is too, like, you can spend a lot of time in the level farming money, but then have nothing to use it on, but you still get kind of rewarded for it, because when you beat the level, any gold you have extra gets converted into experience, so it's kind of nice. You level up in this too, and basically when you level up, you just get more health and damage. I don't know what the multiplier is for damage per level, but it's pretty significant. Sometimes you'd rather level up and take an item. Just the amount of enemies right now is pretty obnoxious. Okay, I beat the boss. So when you beat bosses, they drop an item around this portal here. So in this case I got Will-o'-the-Wisp, detonates enemies on kill. And then you also have to wait until this portal, I charged the portal by standing inside this red dome. So I can't actually leave the level now until I wait. It's at 95%, 97, so it'll be ready in a moment. No, crits aren't the only way. There's items that boost your attack speed. I mean, really, well, I mean, yeah, like, there's no way to really boost your base damage. There's just things that you can get to improve how often you attack, or like crits, for example. There's like the sticky bombs that I had, which I don't have anymore because I traded one in. So that was a health shrine, and I mean, it's pretty obvious. You take damage, but then it converts the damage you take, or somehow, I don't know what the calculation is, into gold, which is helpful when you first spawn into a level like this. This is a pretty good item too. This is another one. It has a chance to apply a dot on hit. And pretty much these maps that I'm in right now, they're always laid out the same. So like this wall in front of me will always be there. Like this pathway around there will always be in there. It's just where you're seeing these shrines, the chests that appear. There are parts of the map that it will randomly close off. Like for instance, okay, this time it's open, but this wall, right? Sometimes there will be a full wall here, making it really hard to get over this, because you can build up a ton of movement speed and get over the wall. Otherwise, you can't. But with the wall being down right now, I can hit this, and it just takes me up to the top of it. also forgot to mention I picked up an equipment, which is that like turret you see on my shoulder. But equipments are like usable items, and they're usually defensive. There's a few offensive ones. Well, actually, no, it should be the other way around. They're usually offensive, but there are some defensive ones. And this one, though, I don't like because it spends your money. It's called the crowdfunder, and you just toggle it on, and then it fires bullets, but you can see it's spending bullets as it fires, so it's not really that great. It's better, I guess, later on when you're really far in the game and you're like maxed out on items. Well, I shouldn't say maxed out because you never really max out, but when you have a shit ton of items in some of the levels, you just end up with an absurd amount of gold, like 20, 30, 40, 50,000. That doesn't really matter if you spend 2 or 3 per bullet. It's just extra DPS. But there's much better items. There's like a what's that gun, like the BFG that the Predator has? You get something like that, and it just fires this like giant energy blast that destroys everything. Like, it does a shit ton of damage to the boss. I'd like that if I can find it. There's also one that heals you over time. So this is a chance shrine. You can offer it gold, and it potentially gives you something. The price increases every time. These things are so annoying. Equipment always spawn these orange things. So like this is just better than I think anyway, crowdfunder. This fires like a lobby of missiles. Like, that's what that does. It's pretty strong. And then there are items you get that can boost your equipment. Like, there's an item called the fuel cell that reduces the cooldown of your equipment and also adds extra charges. So like, I could only fire that missile pod once, but if I had a fuel cell, it would reduce the cooldown by like 10%, I believe, and it lets me fire an additional time. So there's some strategies where you can stack fuel cells to like basically rely on equipments for your build. Like, there's one equipment, it's called the drone strike, and it just summons in 4 drones, but if you have fuel cells, you could summon in like 8, 16 drones at a time. It's pretty crazy. That's a radar scanner. That just shows you where like chests and whatnot are on the map. I mean, the enemies get more difficult. You get rare variations of the enemies. So like, there's like blazing and glacial enemies. There are there's a third, I think there's a third variation too. And they also just spawn more often, and then eventually you get to the point where the bosses start spawning like normal enemies would be spawning. And then they get variations like blazing and glacial. And it just starts to get really ridiculous. Like, the game is pretty tame right now because it's not spawning many enemies. See, like, this guy's glacial, so he can freeze me, which slows me down. He might explode on impact, on death. Yeah. I think there's lightning guys too. I can't remember what they're called. Overloading, I believe, is the term. I'm wasting a lot of time. Although I'm not seeing many chests. The number of chests that spawn in the map are also based on how many players are playing. So I'm not seeing as many as I would when I usually play with my 1 or 2 other friends. You see a shit ton of chests. Because if there was as many chests spawning as there were in like 3 or 4 player games, you would get absurdly strong. These are pretty good to have. Of course, I'm gonna lose a blast, whatever. Those have a chance, a 10% chance of blocking incoming damage, which isn't bad. Oh yeah, he kind of does. That's a stealth kit, I think, which when I take damage makes me invisible for a few seconds. I'm not gonna do that. This thing, when you activate it, it will make it so that when you fight the boss, there could be multiple bosses. Okay, so the goat hoof lets me move faster, but the syringe lets me attack faster, which is pretty much always better. This is nice too. It's like, it lets me do 20%, I think it's 20% more damage to bosses. 10 or 20%, which is really strong, but it's a common item, and I don't want to lose my syringe, and I don't want to lose any more pairs of glasses. So, I don't know. I'm kind of afraid to use it. Oh yeah, and when you block an attack with the teddy bear, it makes a little, like, squishy sound. There's actually a chance that when you block the attack, you can block the damage that a blood shrine will deal to you when you sacrifice your health to get gold, which is kind of cool. These guys can be a pain. Oh shit. Watch me. They fire this homing laser at you, and it's really hard to dodge. You can hide behind objects so to block it. It just does a lot of damage. I wish I had some healing right now. Oh god, I got caught on fire by something. Oh yeah, so like that guy's a blazing enemy. His hits put me on fire, and you see how it's ticking for like 10 or so damage every turn. I might die. Wow. Well, I didn't even get very far that time. I like playing the engineer a little bit more. Well, I don't know, I kind of like both of them. Engineer is really tanky. I can set up turrets, and my turrets inherit all of the items I've picked up, which is can get absurdly strong with the right items. So you can see here, I don't know if you noticed before, but the last game I played as the mercenary, this little land bridge here, well, it wasn't there before, but randomly it will spawn and it lets you go up to that area up there, and there's some stuff up there too. Sometimes the boss is even up there, but I don't know if this is used this time. So that's pretty good. Oh wait, no, that's not what it is. So that, my secondary skill is I throw landmines. But the landmines are kind of like, their damage is alright, but they don't travel very far when you throw them. And I guess they kind of do. It's just your turrets are what ends up dealing most of the damage, so it's kind of like, There's an item you can get called the Hardlight Afterburner that lets your utility skill have extra charges, and my utility skill is the shield. And inside the shield, you're basically immune to damage, and anything outside of it can't penetrate through the shield. If you can see there. And there's no, it's just a time limit, it doesn't have health or anything. So it's really strong against certain bosses. Like that Stone Titan boss I was fighting, his laser can't penetrate the shield. Oh wow, I got lucky. Oh wow. Alright. So that's a good way to start this round too. Yeah, so this item, when you attack, it has a chance of shooting the hook out, hitting the enemy, and then it shoots out up to like a hook out to up to 10 other nearby enemies. And it's cool because like if I place my turret, you see my turret has the hook too. So you can have 2 turrets in at one time, it gets really strong. Oh, you mean those, the golems that walk around? My auto attack's kind of annoying to use. It just fires a bunch of grenades. You can charge it up. It's pretty strong though. From what I remember, it has higher base damage than other auto attacks. But the trade-off that you have to aim it, it's kind of a longer cooldown. I thought I was going to get a little bit farther because I had the sunglasses last time, but I think I was taking too long and those blazing enemies just shut me down. The big thing with this guy is this item called Bustling Fungus. Since my turrets inherit all of my items, Bustling Fungus will... Hello. The fungus will heal me in an AoE around me if I'm standing still. So... These are little drones you can repair. I don't use them too often because they don't scale very well with the difficulty. But I guess it's kind of nice to have them early on. You can see right there my meat hook shot out and hit a bunch of people. And you see, we went down this way last time, but now the door is closed, so I can't go that way. I might just go, honestly. I know I only didn't check the whole level, but I've been here for 5 minutes already. So yeah, you pretty much just do this. Throw some mines. It's not too bad. But this lets me get an additional jump. Now I just have to wait. I don't think they do. Not that I'm aware of. It would be more interesting if they did, though. And when you're waiting for the level to end like this, you can't open chests or anything like that. Like, you notice if it's outside the red ring, anything you can interact, like to pay money for, has these like claws around it, but not just enemies. So fire some drones. Sometimes you get this level, sometimes you get the desert level. I'm not crazy about this level, but yeah. So sometimes these multi-shops have a question mark, you get a random item out of it. I really want the fungus. So, oh, I should have moved money. Energy drinks. It's kinda meh. The teleporter already. I'm gonna get some more items first. That's pretty good. What'd you do? Oh shit. So this is pretty much perfect. What's up? We've gone out of this. So now when I put my turrets down, they give me this huge AoE healing. And I can stand in the middle of it and it doubles it. And then I also, if I stand still, will make a ring of healing as well. So like, if you get enough of these, you basically become invincible. You can still be one shot though. And then there's also a rare item you can find that whenever you heal, it shoots like a flaming skull out of you. So when you put those on your turrets, it's just like a constant barrage of the skulls flying at the enemies. It's really good. There's some cool synergies like that. I really want more items to convert into mushrooms so I can become unstoppable. Ooh, that's pretty good too. Another one. What the heck? I've never had that happen before. Can't say I'm complaining though. That works. I'm gonna try and get one more mushroom before I leave. Yep, that works. Don't want that. What'd you do? Oh, I thought you like hurt yourself. I'm gonna try hitting this chance shrine real quick. Ooh, another feather. Ooh, a whip. Alright, that'll be fun. Yeah, when you start out though, you only have the one class, the commando. You have to unlock the others. It's not too bad though. It didn't take me very long. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that item I got was a key that you can use to open a lockbox, but I'm pretty much just using it as a guaranteed mushroom, so. You can turn it on right now. I'm live streaming right now and Wayne's watching me.
Hi, Wayne.
Because he wanted to see what the game was like. He says hello.
Hi.
Well, wait, do you have the game now? Because, I mean, honestly, if I start doing really well, I could be in here for like over an hour before I die. Because these mushrooms are going to make it really easy to not die. So I don't really have to like play this out. Like I can just let my turrets kill stuff and get me gold while I can go run around and do other things. I wonder how badly this is going to lag when I start getting farther and there's like a ton of enemies on screen, because I bet it will. I mean, not my game, I'm just wondering about the stream, if the stream's going to lag. The ukulele shoots lightning out of it for some reason. So you can sometimes get these blue orbs that spawn, and it takes you to this hidden shop. You can also find these shrines along the map that let you donate one of these lunar coins to it, and then it also spawns the portal to the map. Oh, god damn it, I hate this boss. This boss is a pain in the ass. Wow. Are you kidding me? Well, alright. Well, yeah, I guess you can play with me now since I just decided that I suck and died, so...